Lesson 1-4 is measuring angles. Today you're going to learn how to make an angle, how to name an angle, how to measure or classify angles, and we're also going to talk about the angle addition postulate. Alright, to start with, an angle is formed by two rays with a common endpoint. So if we have one ray, and maybe this ray is ray X, Y, and another ray with the same endpoint, but it's ray XZ, then those two rays together form an angle. In an angle, we can talk about the space inside the angle. So if I do a highlighter, any point that would be here, and these go forever and ever, so really anything in this space would be space inside the angle, a point inside the angle. And then anything that is out here, these would all be points that are outside of the angle. The sides of the angle are the two rays that form it. So the sides of this angle would be ray XZ. Remember, we always put the endpoint first for a ray, and ray XY. We call those the sides of the angle. And any point on either of those rays would be what we would call a point on the angle. The vertex is the common endpoint, so in this case, point X is the vertex. Now, different ways to name an angle. I actually need you to be able to see the picture there. All right. We have three different ways we can name an angle. One of them is simply by using the vertex, and we use an angle symbol. And you have to be careful so that your angle symbol doesn't look like an L, or you don't want it to look like an is less than symbol. So it's an angle symbol. We could just call this angle X because this picture up in the drawing, X is the vertex. Another way to name it is by using 3 points. Those 3 points have to be 1 point each from each ray, and you have to include the endpoint. And the important thing is the endpoint must be in the middle. So for the picture up above, we could call it angle Z, X, Y, or we could call it angle Y, X, Z. But in both cases, the X, the end point of those two rays, the vertex, has to be in the middle when you name it. The other way, which kind of helps streamline things a little bit, is we can name an angle by a number. So you might have a picture of an angle in the textbook with a little, maybe a 1 in there. And we could call this angle 1. If I draw the picture up here, put a little 2 on the inside of it, I could also call it, this one up here, angle 2. All right, classifying angles, and this should be just a review of things that you had in middle school. If an angle's measurement is between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, remember we use degrees to measure angles, then that's an acute angle. So here might be a picture of an acute angle. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. And to denote it in a picture, we always put a little square symbol in the corner. If we see that, we know that the measure of that angle is 90 degrees. Obtuse is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So it might look something like this. Here's a vertex. And then a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. So that's what happens. Remember when we talked about opposite rays? If you have two rays that go in opposite directions and form a line, we can actually call that an angle, but it's a 180 degree angle or a straight angle. All right, so here's our first example. Let's pause the video and see if you can answer these questions on your own. All right. Name and classify all angles in the figure. So in this picture, I see more than one angle. We've got, all of them have vertex of Q. So we can't really call it angle Q because I don't know which angle I'm talking about. Well, if I start with this ray and this ray, then that would be angle PQR. I could also call it angle RQP. It's the same angle, no matter which order I put those letters in. But notice vertex is in the middle. If we look at that, since we know that in the picture that the whole thing, there's a little red right angle symbol in there, if the whole thing's 90 degrees, then PQR's got to be less than 90, so it's going to be an acute angle. Okay, we have another angle in the picture. What if we do this ray and this ray? That forms another. It's also an acute angle. But how do we name it? It would be angle RQS, or you could call it the other way, angle SQR. But it's also going to be an acute angle. And then the third angle in the picture is the right angle. If you look at this ray, ray QP, and ray QS, together they form angle PQS. Or you could call it angle SQP, and since it has that right angle symbol in there, it is a right angle. Now, as I was doing that, I kind of answered problem B as we were doing that. B says, name the vertex and the sides of angle PQS. Well, angle PQS would be this last one, the right angle that we just talked about. Okay, the vertex is point Q. Q, the vertex is always in the middle, and the sides are the two rays. And remember, when we name rays, you always start with the end point. So ray QP is one side, the other side is ray QS. And those are the two rays of the angle. All right, example 2. What are two other names for angle 1? Okay, so the first thing we have to do is identify where angle 1 is. So I'm going to take a highlighter. Angle 1 is the angle formed by these two rays right here. Okay, so what's another name to name it? Another way to name it? Well, M is the vertex. So if we use 3 letters, it's going to be angle JMK. That would be one way. Or you can reverse it and call it angle KMJ. Now, up above, we always said that the vertex, we could name an angle by just its vertex. So it said, would it be correct to name any of the angles angle M? Well, the problem with that would be that in this drawing, there are multiple angles that have vertex of angle M. There's the one we just talked about, or there's the one that's here, angle 2, also has vertex M, and then there's also the big angle, same color, angle J and L. So using just the vertex angle M is not a good way to call any angle in that picture because I don't know which angle I'm talking about. So the answer here would be no, because there are many angles. There are actually 3 angles with vertex M. So we don't know which one we're talking about. Okay, we're already 11 minutes into time, so I'm going to stop this video and record the rest of the lesson in another video.